Hello, welcome to the No Rest for the Vivid podcast. My name is Claire Hill, self-belief and business coach and founder of the Vivid Business Club. Before I introduce this episode's guests, please go and check and see if you follow and subscribe to the podcast. I'm very grateful. Thank you very much. You're going to get loads of absolute banging content from this episode. So go on, go and just click those 5 stars. Oh, well, that's rating it, but follow, rate, just feel like, just be generous. It's great. Thanks very much. Right, end of ask. Today I have the amazing Polly Clover here today. Hello, Polly. Welcome to the No
Hi.
Rest for the podcast, all the
Hey,
way
Claire.
from the States. We had to reschedule because Google Calendar did a bit of a weird one and booked you in for a 4:30 a.m. podcast for you. I was like, that's dedication. Not quite though.
Yeah, a little too early for me.
A little too early. So tell everyone who you are, where you come from, what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm Polly. I'm from South Carolina, but I'm currently living in the US Virgin Islands. So I've been here for about 2 years. I am an SEO writer and consultant. So I help companies improve their website content to rank on Google, and to increase their website traffic to generate more leads. So I've been doing this for about 5 years, full time for about 3 years. So
Amazing. I think we all need you in our lives as business owners because everyone thinks that Instagram is the everything, but it really
they
isn't.
do.
I
It
know that
really is.
you've got some views on social media as well, because we met last summer, didn't we, through Granya's little mini mastermind thing through the summer. And I
Yes.
love um how strong your views are and that you've boundaries and you're okay with that. And that's the way it is because you lean into your superpowers with what you do for a living.
Exactly. Yes. I was able to see that, like, okay, everybody says you have to be on social media to grow your business in, 2024. Then I think when I really decided, wait, no, you don't. It was last year, so 2023. And I saw that the work I do with helping people improve their website traffic and generate leads that way, I was like, okay, this works. I don't have to use social media. And of course, I think social media can be a good marketing platform, but it's not the only way. And I think for me, it was so draining. And of course, I found clients on social media, some of which I still work with, and they're great, but just trying to stand out in the crowd on Instagram specifically it's exhausting, or it was for me. So, I think one of the biggest things I've actually learned as a business owner is setting boundaries. And that was the one I decided I have to set. Like, this isn't serving me. Um, in the way that I need it to. So we're not doing it anymore. So I am no longer on Instagram for business. And yeah, it was the
Wow.
best decision. Don't regret it.
Love that. So tell us all the business love story. Where did it all begin?
So, I was an elementary school teacher when I started my career. That's what I went to college for. And let's see, about 6 years into teaching, I was incredibly burnt out, which I know most teachers can
Yep, me too. Yep.
relate to. Yep.
Mm.
So I really just one day I was exhausted, and I was just kind of in a funk, if you will. And I said, this just cannot be my life. Like, I'm not happy. I'm exhausted. All I do is work. I'm not even making, a comfortable income. This can't be it. And I really just got on Google, started searching for other options for me. And somehow I landed on earning my TEFL certificate, teaching English as a foreign language. And about a year later, I moved to Vietnam to teach English. So that was a really cool experience. And during that time, living abroad and just seeing a different lifestyle, it was like, okay, my life really didn't have to be that way. There are so many more opportunities out there. And, meeting people from all over the world, you really see that. So I just kind of, when it was about time for me to come back to the States, I, obviously wasn't going to be teaching English abroad anymore and didn't want to move back to the States and go back into the classroom as a teacher. So I started researching again, other job opportunities, and I found freelance writing. And so that was kind of at the end of my travels. And then I moved back home and really got into freelancing. And I did it, like I said, part-time for a little while. And finally I was like, gosh, I think I could make a full-time business out of this, helping people with their website copy. And so that's what I did.
Or I remember first learning about the word copy, because unless you're in that world, I don't know whether you understood that word before you were a teacher, because I definitely didn't. And everyone was saying, "Oh, you got to make sure your copy's good." I was like, "What the frig is copy? What do you mean by that?" So for anybody that doesn't know, and I'm hoping that it's not, not everybody's really green and they do, but if anyone needs to know what copy means, what is it? What do you help with people's copy in order to get more traffic on people's websites?
Yes, I didn't know what it was either, even when I started writing. Because when I started writing, I'm a freelance blog writer. I write blogs for people. But copy is essentially writing words that are meant to sell something. So, you know, there's a lot of debate about this. Some people are like, blogging or social media, that's content. But, copy is meant to sell. So I say if you're writing a social media caption or an email newsletter or a blog article or anything where your primary goal is to hopefully sell a service or a product, that's copy.
Mm.
So, it's the words on a website. When people ask me, what do you do? And I used to say I'm a copywriter. I now say SEO writer and consultant, whatever we want to call it. But if people say to me, well, what's a copywriter? If I'm just out and about, my quick answer is the words you see. I write the words you see on a website.
Is
So,
there, would you say, like, fundamental principles to copy, and what sort of what is like the fundamental skeleton of any kind of copy when you're writing it?
like how do you write it in a way that sells?
I
Is that what you mean?
suppose, yeah, like, is there recipe? That's what the kind of thing that I was looking for. Is there a specific recipe that you could create? Oh, I hope I'm making sense. Like, if I was thinking about a formula for self-belief, I would say you've got to make sure that you've got this, and this, and then therefore you have your self-belief, or you can overcome this doubt, do this, and this. Is there that kind of framework that you would use for copy?
This is tricky and there's so many nuances to it. So I guess it's kind of hard to answer it just in a quick recipe, as you said, because it really does depend on your goal. Like, what is it you're trying to sell? Or is it even that you're trying to sell? You could be wanting to convert people into email subscribers, or, so there are a lot of nuances, but I will say, probably the biggest thing with copy that people miss is they talk about themselves or their product or their offer. And the big thing with copy is you need to be talking to your audience. So what is your audience going to get from this? What are the benefits of, said product or service? How do they benefit? So that's the biggest thing. Make it about your audience. And tell them what to do. Your copy needs to tell your audience what they should be doing. Subscribing to your email newsletter, buying this thing. So I would say, instead of a specific recipe or template, I guess instead I would say follow these key points. talk to your audience. Don't talk about yourself. Tell your audience what to do. And there was one more that I was thinking of that's key. Now I want to think of it because I know it was important to talk to your audience, tell them what to do. Don't talk about yourself or your offer a whole bunch. Oh, and make it simple. That's the biggest thing. We want to be all fancy with our copy. And, we are so close to our offers and our business, but make it simple for your audience. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
so extravagant and fancy words and super detailed explanations. Make it simple.
Yeah.
So,
And I think sometimes you get in, and I have had this where I'm trying to convince people to work with me. So I go on and on and on, and then it's a bit waffly when
mhm.
really and I think it does start with, well, for me, again, I believe I am the answer they're looking for. So when they land on my website, my content, my branding, my imagery, all of that is going to attract my ideal client. And they're going to then read and discover I am the answer they're looking for. But if you're not sure that you're the answer that your ideal client and customer are looking for, then your copy is going to be a bit wishy-washy, isn't it? Because you're going to try and convince yourself at the same time.
I love that. That's so true. You really do. Before you even start with the list I just gave, you need to get super clear. When I say your audience, who is your audience? Who are you trying to attract?
Mm.
And get super clear on that and how you help them. So who are you helping and how are you helping them? And be so clear on that before you write your copy.
Well, do you lean in when you're writing copy, lean into those psychographics of like how they think and feel more than the demographics? Because I think when people are thinking about their ideal client or customer, they might think, oh, they're a woman who might have children, and it's sort of, but that doesn't dictate the emotions that your copy could create, is it? So
Mm-hmm.
you've got to sort of is that how it works? And I am an absolute I'm actually I'm not totally inexperienced because I do obviously write a lot of copy because I've got a website and everything, but
Yeah.
I always think, what do I want these words to make my ideal client feel? And is that the gist?
Yeah, you're good.
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh, good.
So, because when we a lot of like, for example, I have an onboarding questionnaire, and a lot of times, and I've kind of tweaked it so that my clients can really think about what I'm asking. But, a lot of times my new clients would answer that question with, like you said, 40 to 50-year-old woman with, 3 grown children who lives in this kind of place. But like
Yeah.
you said, you really want to tap into what are they struggling with and
Mm.
what do they want to feel and what, kind of solution do they want? Like
Mm.
you said. So you really want to tap into that because that's the emotion and them feeling like you really get them and what they're struggling with and what they, outcome they're looking for.
Oh,
The demographic, but it's also how they feel, what they're struggling with, and what they need from you. One of the, I was just talking about this recently with my writing group, and I really wish I could find the study on this, and I cannot find it, but it was like the most common reasons that people buy, and I need to just have this list handy because I've referred to it now like 5 times in the past week. But it's like the most common reasons that people buy, and it's like to save time, to save money, for oh, what is it? Gosh, I wish I had that list handy, but um yeah, it's like what are the problems that your target audience is having and what do they want? Do they want to save time? Do they want to save money? Do they want, you know, just to make it easy. That's one of my big things with my marketing is like making your life easier, because a lot of business owners, which is who I typically work with, you know, doing their own copy is not easy and they don't have
No.
time for it. So I use that in my marketing. So it's really trying to figure out your audience in that way.
Yeah, it is difficult, I think, to write copy. I mean, I feel like I sort of know what to do now ish, but still I still find I sent an email out today about losing my spark, and I found it in my slipper, and that was my subject line for the email. There it was in the bottom of my slipper, my spark. And I just talked about like the last few months I was a bit wobbly, and then I've just found it again and just spoke about the process. And then said one of the ideas I'm going for is this new mastermind that I'm launching. And but in it I was just thinking I want my mailing list to see that this email, though it's got value, and no, I want them to know this is completely normal if you feel like this, that there is a better way, there is an easier way, there's a way to surround yourself with people that get you, get what you want to do, as well as I'm quite fun and have a laugh. And maybe I did find my spark in the bottom of my zipper, but that's the kind of thing, because I only want to attract people. And again, I suppose this is how I think. I only want people in a mastermind that I'm creating that I actually want to hang out with if we weren't in a business way, because otherwise it's just not fun, is it? So,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, and I love that because you kind of told a story and that draws people in. And I had said like you want to talk to your audience and about your audience, but a story that they can relate to. Because a lot of people take that as, well, how do I talk about my business or let them get to know me if I'm supposed to be talking about them? But it's like you can, tell a story like that. And because that is about them, because you're trying to relate with them,
Mm.
and, have them res. Yeah, so I love that.
I would
And
love your.
everybody loves a fun little story.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it might have been in my zipper. I can't guarantee, it probably was, but at least it's back. I would love your opinion on something that I'm not sure about, and I think you might know the answer. Desire and pain point marketing. With pain point, when you're talking about pain, like I've seen so much over the years about pain point marketing. It's just like the wrong thing to do because it makes people feel like rubbish. And I get that. But then you're supposed to highlight the struggle that your ideal client is going through. Is that not the same thing?
So this is yes, there's a lot of debate about this. And I go a little bit back and forth if I'm going to be honest,
Oh, I'm
because
glad. I'm glad. I'm
you
glad. I thought I was just didn't know what I was talking
yeah,
about.
and
This is
I
good.
think a lot of it, we see so much advice about business and what to do in your business and how to market. And a lot of it isn't so black or white, and it really does depend on your brand and your audience and even your offers. It's like with pain point marketing, for me and my brand personally, and just in my life, I try to really focus on positivity and feeling good. Um, and I think it's because I lived for so many years just not feeling good and not being positive.
Mm,
So I really tried to take the whole, the entire other end of the spectrum. So I try to stay away from the negativity. So I feel like when you do pain point marketing, as you just mentioned, you kind of are making people feel yuck,
mm,
blah. And like those aren't, you don't some people, myself, I guess specifically, don't want to attract clients by making them feel crappy.
mm,
But I think there is a tactful way to bring up problems that they're having without it being like, one of the things I really struggle with is when I see marketing that's like, the reason this thing isn't happening is because you're doing XYZ wrong. That's
mm.
where I'm like, I understand you're trying to point out the problem that they're having, but you're also making them feel like it's because they're doing, everything all wrong.
Mm,
So to me, that is not a tactful way to do pain point marketing. But saying, I think it's about your wording, saying, if you're struggling with XYZ, you're pointing out the problem,
mm,
you know, this might be the solution. You can point out the problem without being like, you're doing everything wrong. I think when you're doing it like that, that's more of a scare tactic. And I don't think that is necessarily the way to go about it. If you want to attract people, clients, in this case, if you're a service provider, that are excited and ready to work together.
mm.
And when you do kind of the scare tactic of like, you're doing everything wrong, or you're never going to earn this much if you don't stop doing XYZ, you're attracting the scared client or the one
Mm.
that's like, oh gosh, panicking. And for me, that's not what I want. I want to attract someone that is excited to work with me and improve their marketing. So I think you can point out those pain points and those problems without it being so negative and scary, if that
Yeah,
makes sense. So it really is about using your best judgment and how you word things.
yeah. So like I hate it when people say, um, like if you don't sign up, you're gonna lose out on this, this, and this. I really hate I had a message like this today. I've looked at your website and I can tell that you are losing out on 30K a month of coach. Why are you telling me? How do you know? How do you know what my
I hate that.
sales are?
And
Oh my God.
and that's the biggest thing. I think a lot of people think when they think you need to be very assertive to convince the person you're speaking to. But what I have found is that, like you're saying, people don't want to be told you need to do this, or you're not doing this right, or because you're not getting this result, you must not be doing this. Because you are going to think, how do you know that? You
Yeah.
know, like two things about my business at most.
Yeah.
So how do you know that?
Yeah, you don't even follow me
So
on Instagram because these messages come through. I'm like, you
yeah,
don't even know what I'm about. You've not even looked at my
yeah,
stories or anything. Oh, and the
it's
other thing
wild.
it's winding me up. I keep getting these personal videos to my email, and basically it's them. They go onto my website, they do a loom, and they scroll up and down like they're on my website, and they put a generic message over the top. So you think that they're giving you a personalized support about how they're going to grow, but it's not. So I'm just like, I can tell that you've just copied and pasted that like audio onto a 2 minute, or even less than that, 10-second video of my website. Oh, it winds me up so
That's new to
much.
me. I've never seen that.
Oh,
Oh gosh, they're probably coming because I
they're
do get
coming.
the emails, but it's like, I always go back to just be a real human that wants to help people, like genuinely. Stop doing all of this
Yeah,
sleazy marketing. There's no way it works for you.
yeah.
Just
I've
connect with people and be a
ex-
good person. And
exactly.
you know,
I,
it
I get so shy about the fact that I use ManyChat for my Instagram, and then I've got it on. I'm building another AI on my website as a freebie that you can basically ask me anything. And she's Sheila the robot, and then there's Bob. And I have to say, like, if you comment tools which is the one in the minute, my robot Bob is going to send you the link, because I feel like when people say, I'll send you the link, I think you're lying. And it really, I don't like it. So yeah, that's what I like on every level. I'm like, I am a real human being. I have paid money
yeah,
chat, $10 a month for the privilege. But yeah.
yeah.
So with this podcast, and I'm guessing there's been definitely periods of doubt for you, because leaving education, that kind of job where everything is so rigid and there is like lots of red tape and you have to do certain things at certain times and etc., to then running your own business. Where have you faced your fears and your doubts and moved with them to go big?
Um, ooh, that's a good question. And actually something I think a lot about. So I think probably, you know, of course you have the hurdle of transitioning from, like you said, a very rigid job to figuring it all out yourself and figuring out, what your schedule is and what do you do and who do you work with and what do you offer, all those things. So that was obviously kind of like the first and foremost, biggest hurdle. But I'm also a very organized person. So I think it is about being organized and getting clear on what you want to do and who you want to help and all of that. So I feel like that was like the biggest hurdle, but it was pretty easy for me to get over. The big fear and hurdle that wasn't so easy for me was my money mindset.
Right.
Um, so I grew up, without much, and I never personally knew a successful entrepreneur. I just didn't know anyone that, ran their own business. And so, having not come from much and also not having really an entrepreneur role model, if you will, I have had to overcome some, massive limiting beliefs with that. Um, so that's been something I've really worked on a lot over the years. And I feel like even just within the past, 6 months, I can finally really say that I have, overcome those limiting beliefs when it comes to money. And I think a lot of people struggle with that, even people that, aren't necessarily, don't necessarily have the same background as I do. But, it's hard when you're running a business, you have imposter syndrome and you're like, am I really going to charge this amount, or can I really make this much in my own, little business, people like to say. And I'm like, it's not
Mm.
little. But yeah, I think the money mindset and, for a long time, I was like, because the whole reason I wanted to do this, ultimately was because I wanted to like create this dream life. And a part of living your dream life, you need to make money. We need money. So it's like, I spent a couple years like, gosh, can I really create this business that gives me this life I'm dreaming of? Like, how will I ever earn the money that I need to earn in order to pay my bills and survive, but also to create this dream life? And so those limiting beliefs really, that was a struggle, because I would sometimes be like, gosh, do I have to quit all of this and go back to a 9 to 5? But really just sticking with it. There was a little voice in the back of my head for, all that time that was like, no, you do deserve this. You work really hard. You're really good at what you do. And so just even that little voice is enough to push through. And so I finally am at a place where I don't have that fear of, I can't do this, or, this is too much for me, or I'm never going to be able to earn what I need to earn doing this all on my own. I'm finally feeling like I'm past that, but it has taken me about 5 years.
I love that
So,
because you're similar to me that I had, again, grew up with nothing, but also I think being a teacher, you, there is a, this is all I worked that hard and was not paid very much money. So there
mhm.
is a limiting belief, which then leads into limiting behaviors that you still work just as hard because it's sort of like, well, I had to work that hard to get paid a small amount. So I must have to work double, triple hard to get to the amount of money that everybody else talks about. And then
Mhm.
comparing it to what you had as a kid, and it's like, oh my goodness, like I don't know about you, but if I go into a supermarket and I think, what should I treat myself with? I always, I don't know if I've said this out loud before, but I always go and get myself some smoked salmon because to me, having fish or having fresh fruit and stuff is like a big deal. I feel really rich being able to do that, even though I've done it for years now. But I had to overcome and go, no, it is normal. My brain needs those vitamins and nutrients from that fish. I'm going to go and get it. But like little things like that, I had to sort of overcome. And then the whole money of being a teacher, and it's just it does get in your
Yeah,
way, doesn't
I
it?
relate so much to that, honestly. I feel like I could have, we're the same person. I
Yeah,
could
yeah,
have said
yeah.
all of that because the same exact thing with, going to the grocery store where it's like food is a necessity. It is okay to spend your money on food,
Yeah,
especially if it
yeah.
is healthy foods like fish, which I eat a lot because I don't eat. I'm a pescatarian, so the only meat I eat is fish. But yeah, so I have to, yeah, I'm like, I need this. But and it is, it's like you said, when you remember how you grew up and you remember how little you earned as a teacher, but worked so much, you're kind of like, am I really charging this client, this amount to do this work while sitting, comfortably at home in my cozy outfit, sipping on a coffee with my
Yeah,
dogs right
yeah, I've
beside
got
me?
my
Like, who do
joggers
I
on.
think I am? Yeah, like who do I really think I am? But then, and finally, and this is how I think I came over, I got over these limiting beliefs and these mindset blocks, was that every single time I would have these thoughts, I would stop myself and say, you do deserve this. You are helping this client, you're offering a service to them that is helping their business. Of course you deserve to charge them X amount. And I think my rates are pretty fair, and
Yeah, yeah.
I'm earning more obviously than I was as a teacher, but um that is how I overcame it, though, was like constantly telling myself, like in the grocery store, or when I'm sending this invoice or whatever it may be, it's like, you do deserve this, you do work hard, all the things.
Mm.
So
I do have one thing that I read it somewhere about not asking for the money that you've actually already got. So with invoicing, I will know that I have to put the invoice together. Well, my assistant does it, but she actually is on top of it much more than I used to be. But I'd have my invoices, and I'd be like, I'd have on my to-do list, send that invoice or send those invoices to so and so. And I go, oh, I'll do that tomorrow. And what I worked out is that's me sort of going, oh, I know I've got that money is literally mine, but I'm not ready for it. I'm not going to ask for it straight away. So I'll push it. I'll leave it till tomorrow. It's just so strange. And then I was like, no, you just ask for it straight away. It's
mhm.
money mindset is a complex beast, isn't it? It can really keep you very stuck. What also has helped me with things with money is that I just think of it's like as a different energy. It's just the same as, you know, love energy, joy, I don't know, like sadness, I suppose, worry energy, all of those different kinds of energy. It's just in the mix. It's just that we can see there's a transaction process, but isn't there a transaction process with every kind of energy? So that, if you're buzzing and like right now, we're having a great conversation, we're having a transaction of energy, we'll go off and have a great rest of our day. That's the same thing with money, and also the investment. You think that you're going to give your money away, and especially again talking from my background, if I gave money away or invested in something straight away, well, that's gone, it's never coming
Mhm.
back. When that is
Mhm.
not true, it comes back
Mhm.
in when you make an investment into your development, it comes back like 5-10 fold, doesn't it? But it's getting your head
Mhm.
around that, because it's, oh, we've growing up with nothing, you just never see enough of it to know that it can stick around.
Mhm. Yes, that is another one of my mantras, especially lately. It's money always comes back. Like, it comes back to you. There's infinite amount. And that is something that I struggled with, was like, there's not enough money. Or I think, business owners themselves, it's like, is there room for me? There's room for all of us. There is so much money to be spent, and a lot of consumers spending it,
Yeah.
the money comes back. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Oh, God, I did not know we were going to start talking about money, Polly. I love that. I love it. But it's just so funny that we both had similar backgrounds, and it's just how weird. I think it's just becoming aware of things like that, especially as well as if you work for local government or anything like that, you will have this cap because you just don't get paid very much in those
Mm-hmm.
roles. So you're
Mm-hmm.
going to have worked really hard and not being able to have the credit for your hard work. And that's just
Exactly.
the way the world is, isn't it? Unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So I ask everybody on the podcast who comes on, what do you wish you knew 10 years ago that you know now? What would you go back in time and tell yourself?
I think it would be, let's see, 10 years ago, I was a very burnt out teacher. So I think if I could go back to me 10 years ago, it would be, and I would tell myself, it doesn't have to be like this. Like, you have the ability to create the life that feels good for you. I think, for so long that was kind of my issue, I guess, if you will, was that I thought like this was the life that was handed to me. I have to work really, really hard. I'm never going to be super financially comfortable, but that it is what it is, and that's my life. So I would definitely go back and tell that person, it doesn't have to be this way. You can create the life you want. It takes a lot of work, but you can do it. And yeah, life is meant to feel good and be enjoyable and to, serve you. And it doesn't have to be you just being burnt out and unhappy and settling for what you have, make more of it. So
I love
that
that.
is definitely it. Yeah.
Love that, Polly. Where can people find you?
So I am mostly on LinkedIn at Polly Clover. I love LinkedIn. I'm on there every day. So just kind of talking about, business stuff and, personal stories. And then also my website. So everything is on my website, which is pollycloverwrites.com. And that's where all of my, SEO services are and resources. And I have a blog there with tons of helpful information. So yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. We've got to do a fake goodbye now because I forgot to tell you that we do a pretend goodbye before I stop recording. So I can say thank you
Bye. Thank
afterwards.
you so much.
You're welcome. See you later. Bye.
Bye.